Hello folks, Tom Duemler here. Hey, have you taken Financial Freedom 101 in school? Well, they didn't offer that to me in school. I sure would have taken it had they offered it. And a lot of people are under the misconception that they can save enough cash to be financially free and retire. The reality is that very few can and do save enough cash. So you might want to consider some other options, like maybe starting a home-based business. And that's what the following presentation is going to talk about. Enjoy the presentation.
Well, hello, Tom Duemler here. So why do you need a business? Well, maybe you want to be financially free. Do you know your freedom factor? When you're going to be financially free, when you have enough passive income to support your desired lifestyle. An example of passive income would be like the interest that you receive on the money that you have in your bank. If you would, please pause the recording for just a second, grab a pen and paper. We have a couple of exercises to help you achieve your financial freedom, to make the invisible visible. So when you have a pen, please write down the following answers, your answer to the following questions. When would you like to be financially free? In 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, or more, please write down your answer. When would you like to be financially free? Next question, how much money per month do you need to be financially free? $1,000, $2,000, $4,000, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month or more. How much money do you need to be financially free? Please jot that down. Next question, what is your plan to receive this monthly income? Now don't worry if you can't come up with an answer right now. When I first did this exercise, I didn't have a clue. I put down win the lottery in this blank. It'll be a little more clear in just a second. Next question, how much money do you need to invest at 6% return to receive your desired monthly income? Some of you may think 6% is kind of a low return on your money, but you need an investment here where you absolutely cannot lose. And in another training, we're going to show you how to never lose your money again, have it grow at a great rate, completely protected, and when you're ready to pull that money out, you can do that tax-free. So, how much money do you need at a 6% return to receive your monthly income, your desired monthly income? We're going to cheat here just a little bit. Let's say in that prior example, you needed $2,000 a month passive income to be financially free. If you take your $2,000 times 200, that'll equal $400,000. 400,000 times 6% will give you your $2,000 per month passive income. If you need $5,000 a month, you'll need $1 million in the bank. If you need $10,000 a month, you'll need $2 million. My question to you, is that a big number or a small number? Well, for me, it was huge. And once again, my plan was to win the lottery, to accumulate that money. So let me ask you a question. What do you think is going to be easier and more realistic? To save that kind of money for your financial freedom, or to build a business of some kind that will pay you the monthly passive income you need? Well, for most people, it's impossible to save that kind of cash. In fact, probably less than 1% can and will save that kind of money. So for most of us, building a business is the only realistic option, and the good news is it's much easier than saving that kind of cash. So what's so great about a home-based business? Well, if you do it right, you'll add something to your life maybe you've never had before, options and choices. You can choose your own schedule, take vacations when you choose, buy what you really want, live better. Best of all, you don't have to worry about bills, budget, and the cost of the kids' tuition. Well, can you really have it all? I think you know you can, but you may not even want it all. Maybe you need just enough to ease over some of the rough spots, take off some of the pressure. Well, whatever it is you want, and however much of it is that you want, the starting point is when you decide to become a home-based business owner. Well, 20 years ago, a study was done, and out of 100 Americans by age 65, only 5 were considered financially secure. That's after 40 years of hard work. Of the other 95, 10 were still working, and the rest were either dead or dead broke, dependent on family, friends, and charity. Well, 20 years later, that same study was done. In the year 2009, that 5% secure figure diminished to 2%. The 90% failure figure had grown to 98%. How could such a thing happen in such an enlightened age of progress? Well, with more people more highly educated than ever before, more people are in more trouble before. Why? Well, because with all of our specialized training and advanced education, one simple truth has been overlooked. You'll never taste the steak if it's not on the menu. And for far too many years, we've been handed a menu without any steak. a menu of limited possibilities, limited expectations. We're programmed to anticipate only so much from our lives, while the choice cuts are for the few, the lucky, the well-born, the rich, while the rest of us scrap for the scraps. Well, if you believe that to be true, then for you it is. Change your beliefs and you change your reality. If steak's not on your menu, get a new menu. If you're not where you want to be, maybe it's just because you don't believe you can get there. And I believe with what you have in your hands right now, you'll never have a better chance to find out. What said Ray Kroc, the originator of the McDonald's hamburger chain, at the time made more millionaires than any American in history. But those people, they came to make those millions because they first believed it was possible. They broke out of their average way of thinking and they went for it, and they made it for themselves and for their family. Now, hindsight, and after billions of hamburgers being sold, we said we'd do the same thing given a chance. But would you? Got a question. What are you doing right now? Because you see, there's more opportunity out there now than when Ray Kroc began his McDonald's empire. And if you're not presently engaged in one of those opportunities, you might ask yourself, why? Well, let me suggest 3 possible reasons. First, we've never been trained to independently make and manage money. We've simply been trained to work for somebody else. Second, we're conditioned to only expect so much from our life. Somehow the possibility that we may be the employer rather than the employee escapes us. And third, we're led to believe that somehow money is evil, that to pursue it or have even more than just enough to get by is somehow wrong. Let's take a look at these 3 one at a time. For as long as any of us can remember, we've been told the way to the dream was to get good grades, get a good job, and save our money. Well, has this plan worked for you? It certainly hasn't worked for the 98 out of 100 surveyed in 2009 who wound up broke. Most of us learn how to make and manage our money from the 95% who failed the 20 years before. Wouldn't it have made more sense to seek advice from the 5% who were successful? Well, it may surprise you to learn that most of those wealthy people started with little or nothing and acquired their wealth in their own lifetimes, usually in a matter of a few short years. And what's equally as interesting is that most of them were not well educated, but they were also not programmed in their thinking. They just set out in life with a simple belief they could succeed, and in time they did. That brings us to our second point. It's been known for some time that some people would rather be right than rich. So many of us take the cynical attitude that it's no use, we can only expect so much from our life, and anyone who thinks otherwise is either naive or a fool. So we go through life with everything tied up in neat little packages, eliminating every possibility except that limited range that we already know, refusing to consider anything new or anything we haven't previously heard about. Well, could it be that you just don't want to risk picking a loser? Did you know most of those wealthy people failed not only once but several times? And some of them even went through several bankruptcies. But they knew they could be wrong 2 out of 3 times and still end up rich, while the cynics could be right 2 out of 3 times and gain nothing. Finally, let's look at that root of all evil. Sometimes I think it's the wealthy that started that cliche to keep down the competition. Ask yourself, is it money or the lack of it that causes people to commit crimes? Is it money or the lack of it that turns people to alcohol and drugs to try to escape the hopelessness of their surroundings? Is it money or the lack of it that brings about the bitter anguish and frustration of trying to make ends meet that sometimes ends in divorce and broken homes? No, the quote might better read, the lack of money is the root of all evil. Money is nothing more than a tool that can be used to provide the balance and security in our lives that will enable us to occupy ourselves with those other aspects of our lives that can truly bring about fulfillment, peace, and contentment. And now the moment of decision. Normally we just weigh the risks against the rewards. As for the risks, financially speaking, they're hardly worth considering. No, money's not the issue. What your decision really comes down to is belief. Belief in yourself and the possibilities of your own success. You see, that's what the successful 2% in our midst have already discovered, that no matter what your plan of action, you must open your mind to the possibility that you can have what you want, and that if your desire is strong enough, you can have it all. Simply believe that your dreams can and do come true. So I have a vision a way out of the 98% trap, a way out without the heavy risk demanded by most other businesses. Declare your dream and go for it.